بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وبعد. Respected ulama, respected imams, hujjaj, seniors, mothers and fathers, honorable youth, respected huffaz, our viewers and our listeners, respected listeners of IFM, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, we begin in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We send salutations on our beloved Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Alhamdulillah, we must thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah had written and decreed in Laylatul Qadr, in the previous Ramadan, that every single one of us will be given enough life to make it to Nisf Sha'ban. For this night is one of the auspicious nights. And a year ago in Ramadan, Allah released your taqdeer and my taqdeer. It came down that this believer must make it until Nisf Sha'ban. And for that, my dear brother and sister, say Alhamdulillah, that Allah has, in His infinite wisdom and mercy, saw it befitting for you and I to be alive and breathing during these blessed hours. For this night of Laylatun Nisf min Sha'ban, or Laylatul Bara'ah, or Ruwa, or Shabi Barat, different terminology with reference to the same great occurrence that scholars agree upon. It is a night in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can forgive the believer and grant that believer Jannatul Firdaus. But this is dependent on the approach and the niyyah of that believer. And so we gather this evening in the masjid, adhering to a tradition that spans centuries, that communities around the world on Laylatun Nisf min Sha'ban would go to the masajid and dedicate a portion of the night to be in the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So my beloved brothers and sisters, this evening we have a program prepared for you. Inshallah, we are going to start with the recitation of Surah Yasin. And when we recite Surah Yasin, we are going to do it as a jama'ah. And when we recite Surah Yasin, we make a particular niyyah. And this must be your niyyah. And so my dear brother and sister, if you are in the masjid, dedicate the next hour odd to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Surrender your heart to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not to anyone else. We are not here because it is a cultural practice. No. We are not here because our family said we must go. If you are here, Allah had guided you to be here. And if you are listening online or watching online, I ask those at home, if you are driving, whatever it might be, pause your other activities and engage in the ibadah. So we will recite Surah Yasin, and the dua and the niyyah that each of us must make should be threefold, inshallah. With this recitation, you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through your recitation of Surah Yasin that you are about to make, you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala firstly to give you a long life in the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That Allah must decree and write for you years, decades ahead in the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For Allah is in control of your taqdeer, your qada. And we don't complain about what happens, but we must appeal to Allah. That's niyyah 1. Niyyah 2, my dear brothers and sisters, is you ask Allah to remove all calamities that might have been written for you.
Ameen. Ameen.
You ask Allah to remove any test or trial or difficulty. You ask, Ya Allah, through my recitation of Surah Yasin, Ya Allah, remove it from my future. You're not aware of it yet, and you ask Allah, Ya Allah, my heart can't cope. Please remove that difficulty. And the third niyyah that you make with this recitation is you ask Allah to give you halal, beneficial wealth. That you are independent. That you don't depend on anyone else. You only depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you ask Allah, Ya Allah, through my recitation of this Surah Yasin, Ya Allah, increase me in my rizq. Ya Allah, lift my debt, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, permit that for decades ahead, the barakah will flow in the income you decree for me, Ya Allah.
Ameen.
And so with that niyyah, inshaAllah, we have our Imam and the resident Jama'ah with us. They will lead us in Surah Yasin. And after Surah Yasin, we will continue with the program, inshaAllah. If you have the Quran app open, you can open it and follow Surah Yasin to read along, inshaAllah. If you are Hafid of Surah Yasin, ahsantum, you read from memory. Those at home, please try and get a mushaf or a kitab and try and read so that you can get the reward of your recitation, inshaAllah. تفضل مشكورا.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ياسين والقرآن الحكيم. إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم. تنزيل العزيز الرحيم. لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون. لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون. إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون. وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون. وسواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون. إنما تنذر من اتبع ذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشروا بمغفرة وأجر كريم. إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين. واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون. إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون. قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون. قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين. قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب عليم. قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون. وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين. اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون. وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون. أأتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفرني ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون يا خسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كما أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وأعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالأرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم انفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يحسمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم سلام قولا من رب رحيم سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نؤمر نمكس في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وظللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يغزوك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحيي الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر أخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون.
Sadaqallahul Azim. Through that recitation of Surah Fatiha, recitation of Surah Yasin, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decree that every single one of us is given a long life.
Ameen. Ameen.
A life in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decree that any calamities and tests written for us, our family members, our children, our friends, may it be lifted.
Ameen.
And may Allah decree that we are given beneficial wealth.
Ameen. Ameen.
My beloved brothers and sisters, honorable seniors, alhamdulillah, I'm sure that this Laylatun Nisf min Sha'ban can possibly be the 50th, 60th, 70th for some. For others it could be their first. So it's important to appreciate the significance of this night. It was classically referred to as Ruwa. Many might still call it by that name, with reference to the Arabic word, or originating from this Arabic word of ruwah, with reference to arwah, the souls that have departed. The tradition was that those who were still alive at ruwah would make dua for the deceased.
Ameen. Ameen.
And so if you have lost a family member, a parent, a sibling, a child, then please make dua for them this evening.
Ameen. Ameen.
That Allah places nur in their qabr,
Ameen.
and Allah raises their status,
Ameen. Ameen.
and Allah grants them Jannatul Firdaus.
Ameen. Ya Rabb. Ameen.
It is also referred to as Laylatul Bara'ah, and the Urdu equivalent Shabi Barat. What is this word Bara'ah? It means that Bara'ah literally means to be freed. That something was holding you back or is going to hold you back, and Bara'ah is to be freed from that. And the ulama have written that the power of your dua and my dua on Laylatun Nisf min Sha'ban is that you and I can be freed from Jahannam.
Ameen.
May Allah grant that to us.
Ameen.
And we also make in the dua of Laylatul Nisf min Sha'ban, in the dua of Ruwa, there's a dua that we will recite as a jama'ah shortly. In that dua, we ask Allah to free us from certain challenges.
Ameen.
And I'm sure, my dear brother and sister, as we sit and we meet in the masjid this evening, all of us have challenges. All of us. I can see the weight on shoulders around me. We carry weight. We have challenges in our family relationships, in our income. We have challenges with our iman. And that is probably the most significant challenge. That we battle to have a strong relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a problem for me and you. And then Allah, in His infinite wisdom and mercy, gives you as a gift Laylatun Nisf min Sha'ban, a night in which you can appeal to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a night in which you can ask Allah to forgive you. But you and I have to make that effort. So my beloved brothers and sisters, I always love reflecting on the hadith of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says that when Muslims come together and they want to remember Allah and appeal to Allah, our beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that when that group comes together, the angels, the malaika flock towards them. Because it is a group of believers wanting to please Allah. And they surround that group of believers. And right now, as you and I are meeting in this masjid, I am 100% sure, I have full yaqeen that there are thousands of malaika right now around us.
Ameen. Allahu Akbar.
And the malaika gather around the believers, particularly on Laylatun Nisf min Sha'ban. The angels gather with a certain purpose and role. And our Prophet says, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that the angels gather around the believers remembering Allah to firstly send salutations on those believers. Allahu Akbar. We are unaware, but I have full yaqeen that this masjid is filled with thousands of angels. and they are sitting next to you, and they are hovering above you, and they have one purpose, one role this evening. And if you are at home, the angels are with you, because you are remembering Allah. And our beloved Rasul says, the angels gather to listen to what that believer has to say. What dua is Khadija, is Mukhtar, is Muhammad, is Idris, is Fatima making tonight? And when that dua comes rolling off your lips, the angel says, Allahumma ameen. May Allah accept. May Allah accept the dua of this believer. And our Prophet says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the angels, they make a dua for the believer in that gathering, as long as that believer is in that gathering. So if you are in your home now, please gather as a family. Be a gathering. And the Prophet says, as long as the believer is in that gathering, the angel makes the dua to Allah. The angel makes the dua for you. Allahumma khfir lahu. Allahumma arhamhu. The angel says, Ya Allah, forgive this believer. Ya Allah, show your mercy towards this believer. As long as the angel, as long as the believer is in that gathering. May the angels make that dua for us this evening.
Ameen, ameen.
And when we leave the masjid after Isha, and you go to your home, and you are in a gathering with your family, even if it is a small gathering, may the angels make dua for you there as well.
Ameen, ameen.
My beloved brothers and sisters, very, very briefly this evening, I think we recognize the merit of Laylatun Nisf min Sha'ban. Through Allah's rahmah, this night occurs 2 weeks before Ramadan. And I say it is a huge rahmah from Allah. Because 2 weeks before Ramadan, the month of forgiveness, Allah gives every believer around the world a night of forgiveness. So that, and why do we get a night of forgiveness before the month of forgiveness? So that Allah can free you and me from what is holding us back. So that if our dua is accepted, then we enter the month of Ramadan without sin. Imagine that. That you and I have the full potential in 2 weeks to welcome the month of Ramadan without sins. May Allah grant us that.
Ameen, ameen.
My beloved brothers and sisters, the month of Sha'ban is a very important month. Our beloved Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam spoke about this month and he said, ذَلِكَ شَهْرٌ يَغْفُلُ النَّاسِ عَنْهُ بَيْنَ رَجَبْ وَرَمَضَانِ. He said, there's that month that is flanked by Rajab and Ramadan that most people overlook. And that is the month of Sha'ban. What did he mean? He meant that the believer doesn't make use of the opportunity in this month. And the great opportunity of Sha'ban is Laylatun Nisf min Sha'ban. And what is the purpose of this particular night? The ulama have written that this night is of the moments where Allah gives the believer an experience of the breeze of rahmah. Our beloved Rasul says, تعرضوا لنفحات رحمة الله فإن لله نفحات من رحمته. Our beloved Rasul says that Allah will expose the believer to nafahat, to light, beautiful breezes of rahmah. Beautiful breezes, the word here in this hadith, it's a breeze of rahmah. And we think of a hot day. Today was quite hot, and yesterday. And think of that, you were getting so hot and you were walking somewhere and that light breeze hit you. And think of how cool you felt in that moment. But alhamdulillah, kry so warm. And this breeze goes against your face and it caresses you and it cools you down and you are so grateful for that breeze. And that's just a physical wind. relieving some of the heat. And here, our beloved Rasul says, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that Allah will permit that some believers get the breezes of rahmah before your shower of rahmah in Ramadan. So tonight is the moment of breezes of rahmah. And the believer must pause, like you paused in that breeze yesterday in the heat. You took it in. You embraced it. You appreciated it. And that must be the approach of the believer tonight. Amen. My beloved brothers and sisters, just one hadith I want to mention of this night, which is probably, it's the most quoted hadith with reference to Laylatun Nisf in Sha'ban. And I want you to listen to this from the words of our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He says, with regards to tonight, the night that you and I have been honored to experience, this night that we are currently in, this current moment and minute, our Prophet said, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Inna Allaha la yattali'u fi Laylatun Nisf min Sha'ban. That on the night of Nisfu Sha'ban, Allah looks at His creation. Tonight, Allah looks at His creation. Allah is looking at you and looking at me right now. And our Prophet continues, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, He looks at His creation who are worshipping Him and He forgives all of them. Except two people. The Prophet says, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that tonight Allah looks at all of His creation, and provided that believer is seeking Allah's mercy, he will get it, unless he is one of two people. Illa li mushrik, except the person who commits shirk, except the person who places partners unto Allah, except the person who witnesses partners being ascribed to Allah and just enjoys it. A Muslim protects his iman and her iman. So the mushrik, our beloved Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, that person won't get their sins forgiven. May Allah save us from that.
Ameen, ameen.
May any iota of shirk indirectly and implicitly be removed from our lives. And let us worship Allah alone. And the second individual, where you and I now fall into the category maybe, O Mushahin, the believer who harbors enmity, jealousy, and hatred in their heart. Now when you look at this hadith, there is great hikmah, wisdom, because our beloved Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says that tonight, my dear brother, my dear sister, every single one of you can be forgiven. I can also be forgiven. Those at home can also be forgiven. Except firstly, the one who commits shirk. Inshallah, we are not in that category. And secondly, the one who harbors enmity, jealousy, hatred. Now, when we examine these two traits in the hikmah and the wisdom of this hadith, we find in this hadith, we have huququllah and huququl ibad. The rights of Allah and the rights of people in this hadith. That to be forgiven by Allah, you must afford Allah His rights, His dominion, His oneness, His tawheed, and you can be forgiven. And then you must afford people their rights. You can't and I can't seek Allah's forgiveness and then we harm one another. And we hate one another. And we cause difficulty in families and communities. And we split up families and communities. And that is why the tradition has been, I don't know if it occurred today, maybe, but the tradition used to be that on the day of Ruwa or Nisfu Sha'ban, people send, give me maaf messages. I hope you sent them. Why? Because it's with reference to this hadith. That before you and I can appeal to Allah, we cannot be holding on to something in our hearts. And so I reminded to myself and everyone, before we make our dua in the next few minutes, I want you to place your heart in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want you and me to humble ourselves. Allah knows exactly what is in my heart and your heart. Allah knows exactly if you and I have an ill feeling towards someone. And my dear brother, my dear sister, it ends right now. If you and I want to ask Allah for forgiveness, then you can't be holding on to it. You can't take it into Ramadan. That is why we have it here. And so this evening, if someone did not ask you, Maaf, for forgiveness, let Allah be your witness that you give them Maaf now already.
Amen.
Don't wait for the apology. Don't hold on to the difficulty. Because people, you and I, we are stubborn at times. We know we erred. We know we skinned, we spoke ill of someone, but we will never humble ourselves and seek that person's forgiveness. And of course, if you and I are like that, then we answer to Allah for that. But if we were on the receiving end of that, the one who was harmed, who was spoken ill about, who was defamed or belittled or insulted, someone hurt your feelings, my dear brother, my dear sister, let go of that tonight. Do you know why? Because Allah is going to grant you greater reward. Because you could clean your heart in preparation for Ramadan. So may Allah assist you and me to remove those difficulties.
Amen.
To remove shahna, this enmity, this ugliness from our hearts. And if we succeed, Ramadan is not going to be nafahat, a breeze of rahmah. It's going to be your shower of rahmah.
Amen.
The rahmah of Allah is going to surround you. Every facet and construct of you will be surrounded by Allah's rahmah. Because on Nisfu Sha'baan, with Allah as your witness, and the angels that are right next to you, the angels will record right now that Tasneem cleaned her heart. That Muhammad cleaned his heart. That he let go of that fight without an apology coming his way. And they'll ask, Ya Allah, forgive this person. May Allah make us from amongst them.
Amen.
So my dear brothers and sisters, this night is a night of forgiveness. And so we must grant each other forgiveness, firstly. Husbands and wives must grant each other forgiveness. A year has passed since the last Ramadan. And you and I have said many things we don't mean. Things have come out, you and I have done inappropriate things. May Allah forgive us for that.
Amen. Amen.
And if we've harmed people, we set that right before Ramadan. Ramadan is a month that is filled with reconciliation. It is a month in which couples can earn the rahmah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That parents can get it for their children. That children can get it for their parents. And may Allah grant that to every household in our community.
Amen.
My beloved brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks us, فَاتَّقُوا وَأَصْلِحُوا ذَاتَ بَيْنِكُمْ. Have a consciousness of Allah and set right your affairs amongst yourselves. And so, tonight inshallah, every husband, you're going to ask your wife Maaf.
Amen.
And every wife, you're going to ask your husband Maaf. And honestly, the angels and me, we don't care who's wrong. But we care about who gets to Jannah. And we have to get past that. Siblings, ask each other for forgiveness. Allah had made you siblings. Children, seek the forgiveness from your parents. Parents, if you've harmed your kids, seek their forgiveness. And Allah will shower you with rahmah. This is Allah's instruction. Be mindful of me and set right your affairs. My beloved brothers and sisters, tonight is a night of istighfar. And inshallah, we are going to make some istighfar. Our beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us the tradition to seek forgiveness from Allah 100 times. So inshallah, we are going to make istighfar. Imam will lead us in that. And then after the istighfar, you will participate in the dua of Laylatun Nisf inshallah. And then inshallah, it will close with dua, and then it will be Isha inshallah. This is a very important part, because when you seek Allah's forgiveness through your istighfar, you must be sincere and I must be sincere. So I want you to concentrate in your istighfar. It is not just a recitation, but you are asking from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, forgive me. Ya Allah, I've made mistakes. Ya Allah, I'm not perfect. And you seek the forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My beloved brothers and sisters, we acknowledge and we humble ourselves, inshallah. Let us sit in tahiyya position, qibla, inshallah. Those at home as well, try to face qibla. And sit in your tahiyya position to humble yourself, inshallah, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You concentrate in your istighfar, because when we talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we acknowledge that Allah has given us so many bounties, but we still displease Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That Allah gives us family, and sometimes we don't treat them the best. That Allah gives us wealth, and then we don't spend it in Allah's path. Then Allah gives us knowledge, and we don't practice upon it. And Allah gives us health, but then we squander it. Allah gives us difficulty, and we're not patient. Allah gives us honor, then we don't honor Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we appeal to Allah on this evening, Ya Allah, forgive us, Ya Allah. Forgive us, Ya Allah. Forgive us, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, let us be your true servants, Ya Allah. Forgive us, Ya Allah, and let us live longer to serve you, Ya Allah. Forgive us, Ya Allah, and guide us to please you, Ya Allah. Forgive us, Ya Allah, and grant us happiness in our marriages and families, Ya Allah. Ameen. Forgive us, Ya Allah, and bless us. Ameen. And grant us barakah in our wealth. Ameen. Forgive us, Ya Allah, and lift debt from us, Ya Allah. Forgive us, Ya Allah, and grant us victory over our enemies, Ya Allah. Forgive us, Ya Allah, and grant us success in all that we do, Ya Allah. Ameen. Forgive us, Ya Allah, and grant victory to our brothers and sisters in Gaza, Ya Allah. Ameen. Forgive us, Ya Allah, and let us live and die as righteous Muslims. Ameen. Ya Allah, accept our dua this evening. Accept our istighfar, Ya Allah. Ameen. And accept the dua that we make for ourselves, our parents, our family members, and the entire ummah. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Allah asks us, Wastaghfirullah, inna Allaha ghafurur rahim. Allah asks us, seek the forgiveness from Allah, for verily Allah is the most forgiving, most merciful. Faddal mashkur.
Astaghfirullahalazim.
Astaghfirullahalazim.
Astaghfirullahalazim. Astaghfirullahalazim. Astaghfirullahalazim. Astaghfirullahalazim. Astaghfirullahalazim. Astaghfirullahalazim. Astaghfirullahalazim. Astaghfirullahalazim. Astaghfirullahalazim. Astaghfirullahalazim. Astaghfirullahalazim. أستغفر الله العظيم 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 الله العظيم أستغفر 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 الله العظيم حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل 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 حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل.
Beloved brothers and sisters, inshallah, we are going to make the dua of Laylatun Nisf in Sha'ban. Inshallah, so we concentrate in this dua and we try to face the Qibla. We sit in Tahiyya position. I will make the dua in Arabic and English and you can repeat after me, inshallah. So I'll recite a portion and then you can repeat that after I pause, inshallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma ya dhal manni wa la yumannu alayhi يا ذا الجلال والإكرام يا ذا الطول والإنعام لا إله إلا أنت ظهر اللاجين وجار المستجيرين وأمان الخائفين أسألك اللهم أن لا تجعلني شقيا أو محروما أو مطرودا أو مقترا علي في الرزق فامح اللهم بفضلك
رشدك
شقاوتي
شقاوتي
وحرماني
وحرماني
واقتتاره
واقتتاره
رزقي
رزقي
نسألك اللهم
نسألك اللهم
أن تكشف عنا
أن تكشف عنا
من البلاء والبلوى
والبلوى
ما نعلم
ما نعلم
وما لا نعلم
وما لا نعلم
وما أنت
وما أنت
به أعلم
به أعلم
إنك أنت الأعز الأكرم
الأعز أكرم
اللهم تقبل منا في هذه ليلة النصف من شهر شعبان وصلى الله وسلم عليه والحمد لله رب العالمين. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Allah the Most Generous, the one not in need of generosity, Allah the possessor of glory and honor, Allah the possessor of might and kindness. There is no God except you, Allah. Allah, you grant me strength. To all who seek refuge in you, Allah, you are the protector of all seeking help. Allah, you are the safety for all who have fear. We ask you, O Allah, do not deprive us, Ya Allah. Do not deprive us, Ya Allah. Do not deprive us, Ya Allah. Do not detach us from you, Ya Allah. Do not deny us, Ya Allah. Do not deny us our sustenance, Ya Allah. Allah, by your grace, save us from deprivation. Save us from denial of livelihood. Allah, you are the most compassionate. Allah, you listen and respond. We ask you, O Allah, to remove from us all misfortune, that which we know and that which we do not know. Allah, you are the most powerful. You are the most generous. Bestow upon us, Ya Allah. Bestow upon us, Ya Allah. Bestow upon us, Ya Allah. Bless us, Ya Allah. Bless our families, Ya Allah. Forgive us, Ya Allah. Forgive our families, Ya Allah. وصلى الله وسلم عليه والحمد لله رب العالمين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين رب اغفر لي ولوالدي آمين. يا الله يا الله يا رحيم المؤمنين صلى الله ربنا على نور المبين أحمد ومصطفى سيدنا المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين يا الله يا الله يا رحيم المؤمنين صلى الله ربنا على نور المبين أحمد ومصطفى سيدنا المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين يا الله يا الله يا رحيم المؤمنين صلى الله ربنا على نور المبين أحمد ومصطفى سيدنا المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وأصحابه وبارك وسلم على إن أولياء الله لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون الذين آمنوا وكانوا يتقون بفضلك هم فيها سبحانك اللهم تحيتهم فيها سلام وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.
We say shukran, jazilan, jazakallah khairan to everyone for coming to this program. May Allah accept from us. A reminder and encouragement to everyone, inshallah, please continue with istighfar until Fajr, inshallah. Then also tahajjud is very important. Please add nur to your home, inshallah. Let's perform tahajjud salah in your home and ask Allah everything that you need. So by the time Fajr sits in, Allah had forgiven you. May Allah accept from us, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan.